In a world full of noise, confusion, and imitation, how do you find your way back to what's real? When life pushes you to follow the crowd, chase empty success, or stay busy just to feel alive, is there a deeper path? Socrates thought so. And 2,500 years later, his words still pierce through the chaos like a blade of clarity. Welcome back to True Grit Mind, where timeless wisdom meets modern struggle. Today, we dive into 5 of the most powerful life principles from Socrates, not just as quotes to remember, but as mirrors to examine your life, and fire to forge your character. Because philosophy, to the Stoics and the Greeks, was never meant to stay in books. It was meant to be lived. Let's begin. Principle 1, examine your life, or waste it. Quote. The unexamined life is not worth living. The weight of a life unquestioned. At the trial that would end his life, Socrates stood before the court, not to plead for mercy, but to plead for meaning. The unexamined life is not worth living, he declared. These were not just words, but the thesis of a lifetime. A life spent in the marketplace of Athens, questioning poets, craftsmen, politicians, and himself. What does it mean to live a life unexamined? It means to move from task to task, year to year, without asking why. To follow inherited beliefs without challenge. To work, consume, sleep, and repeat, without purpose. Socrates believed that we must become students of our own souls. The man who lived without asking. Consider the story of Chris, a high-powered executive in New York. For years, he climbed the corporate ladder, hit targets, bought the house, drove the car. On paper, he was a success. But internally, he was withering. One day, at a silent meditation retreat his wife had begged him to attend, a simple question broke him: what do you truly value? He had no answer. Not really. And that's when he realized, for 45 years, he had lived someone else's life. He quit. Not out of recklessness, but clarity. He sold the house. Moved upstate. Became a mentor to young entrepreneurs. And for the first time, he said, he felt alive. Because he had finally begun to examine. The power of interrogating yourself. Examination is not self-doubt. It's self-inquiry. It's looking at your assumptions and saying, where did I get this belief? Is it still true? Who am I becoming if I keep following this path? True examination is courageous. It might mean walking away from a stable job. Or admitting that your definition of success was inherited, not chosen. It might mean facing uncomfortable truths, like that you've avoided conflict your whole life, or that your ambition is driven by fear, not vision. But through that honesty comes freedom. The Stoic mirror. Even the Stoics, centuries after Socrates, embraced this examination. Epictetus asked students to reflect each night, where did I fall short? Where did I do well? Marcus Aurelius journaled every morning and evening, interrogating his emotions, intentions, and principles. Practical examination. Daily journaling, ask yourself, what did I do today that aligned with my values? What did I do that betrayed them? Why chain, pick a major life area. Ask, why do I do this? Then keep asking why, 5 times deep. Value audit, write down your 5 core values. Then examine your last week, did your actions reflect them? Final thought. The unexamined life might be easier. But it's also emptier. To examine is to reclaim. To rediscover your agency. To turn life from something that happens to you, into something you shape. Principle 2, wisdom begins with knowing you're ignorant. Quote. I know that I am intelligent because I know that I know nothing. The paradox of the wise fool. We often think the smart ones are the ones with all the answers. Socrates turned this upside down. True intelligence, he claimed, begins with humility, the recognition that our knowledge is tiny compared to what we don't know. In ancient Athens, Socrates was considered annoying by many, and for good reason. He embarrassed prominent men by asking simple questions. They thought they knew. But as he unraveled their logic, it became clear, they didn't. He wasn't trying to win. He was trying to reveal. The doctor who admitted ignorance. In the early days of COVID-19, Dr. Li Wenliang in Wuhan, China, noticed a pattern in patients that others were ignoring. He didn't pretend to understand the virus fully. He simply said, "Something is wrong." And he spoke up. He was silenced, and eventually died from the same illness. His bravery wasn't in knowing. It was in not knowing and daring to ask, "What is this? Are we sure?" Contrast that with leaders and influencers who pretended certainty. Their arrogance cost lives. Knowing nothing, seeing everything. To say, "I know nothing," is not to surrender. It is to remain open. Curious. Teachable. A young entrepreneur named Lisa once told her mentor, "I want to be the smartest in the room." Her mentor replied, "Then you'll stop learning. Instead, aim to be the most curious. Then you'll never plateau." Curiosity is a force multiplier. It breaks echo chambers. It builds bridges. Practical ignorance. Question your certainty. Whenever you say, "I know," ask, "How do I know? What am I missing?" Seek contradictory views, read authors you disagree with. Befriend someone outside your bubble. Mentor others, then listen. Teaching is powerful, but listening to those you teach reveals your blind spots. Final thought. Knowing you know nothing doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It means you're not trapped in ego. You're free to learn. And in a world full of noise, the one who listens first becomes the one worth listening to. Principle 3, think for yourself to find yourself. Quote. To find yourself, think for yourself. The danger of borrowed lives. It's tempting to let others define who we are. Parents, teachers, culture, media, they hand us scripts from the moment we're born. Be this. Believe that. Want this. Avoid that. And so we wear masks. We play roles. We drift through life following paths we never questioned. Socrates warned against this. True identity is not something given to you, it's something uncovered. And the tool to uncover it? Thinking for yourself. The girl who asked, why? When Maya was 16, she shocked her deeply traditional family by refusing to apply to medical school. Everyone in her family was a doctor. Her father told her she was dishonoring the family. Her mother cried. But Maya couldn't shake a feeling, that's your dream. Not mine. Instead, she took a gap year. Worked at a local NGO. Read obsessively, Socrates, Virginia Woolf, Malcolm X. She filled journals with questions, who am I when no one is watching? What makes a life good? It wasn't easy. She faced isolation. Doubt. But one day, while helping run a youth program for girls in underserved areas, something clicked. She realized her voice had power. Her ideas had impact. And for the first time, she wasn't living a borrowed life. She had begun to find herself, because she had dared to think for herself. The process of becoming. Thinking for yourself isn't about being contrarian. It's about discernment. It's about slowing down before accepting an idea, a label, or a goal. It's about saying, does this align with what I believe, or am I just afraid to question it? The greatest thinkers were not the loudest, they were the clearest. And clarity only comes through honest, independent thought. Practical individual thinking. Question assumptions. What beliefs do you hold that you've never challenged? Start with one. Trace its origin. Write without audience, journaling without filters forces you to be real. Let the page hear your truest self. Practice mental solitude, take time each day without input. No phones. No podcasts. Just your thoughts. What emerges? Final thought. You cannot find yourself through imitation. You must dare to disappoint others. To walk alone. To trust the quiet voice that whispers beneath the noise. Because the greatest journey is not across oceans or continents, it's the path inward. And that path begins when you start to think for yourself. Principle 4, move yourself before you move the world. Quote. Let him who would move the world first move himself. The weight of misplaced ambition. It's tempting to want to fix everything, your workplace, your family, your nation. We see injustice, inefficiency, broken systems, and we feel the fire to act. But Socrates warns us, before you aim to change the world, look inward. How can you lead others if you haven't led yourself? How can you demand integrity, clarity, and discipline, if your own house is in disorder? This is not about giving up on change. It's about starting where your power truly lies. Nelson Mandela and the Inner Revolution. Before he became a global icon for peace, Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison. It would have been easy, natural, even, to emerge full of rage. But in those long years, Mandela turned inward. He read philosophy. He reflected. He wrote letters. He studied his enemy. And when he finally walked out of prison, he wasn't just a political symbol, he was a man transformed. A man who had first moved himself. He forgave. He united. He led, not with bitterness, but with discipline, patience, and vision. His impact was profound because his foundation was internal. The danger of outward focus. We live in an age of opinion. Everyone has a take. Social media rewards outrage and activism. But how much of it is anchored in wisdom? In lived integrity? Socrates reminds us, real influence starts with personal mastery. Otherwise, we risk becoming noisy but hollow. Leaders in name, not in being. Practical inner movement. Audit your reactions, what triggers you? What patterns repeat? Self-awareness precedes self-governance. Practice self-discipline, before expecting others to show up fully. Train yourself to rise early, finish tasks, hold promises. Led by quiet example, the loudest voice isn't always the strongest. Influence flows from alignment, not volume. Final thought. The world doesn't change because we shout at it. It changes because people quietly transform themselves, and inspire others to do the same. So before you demand reform, reform your habits. Before you preach virtue, live it. Because the one who moves himself first, moves the world better. Principle 5, discuss ideas, not people. Quote. Strong minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, weak minds discuss people. Attributed to Socrates or Eleanor Roosevelt, but embodies Socratic spirit. The poverty of gossip. Walk into any cafe, scroll any feed, and you'll see it, people talking about people. Who failed? Who succeeded? Who wore what? Who said what? And for a moment, it feels like connection. But underneath it lies something dangerous, mental laziness. Gossip is easy. Reflection is hard. And Socrates believed, the strength of your mind shows in what it chooses to focus on. Eleanor's turning point. In high school, Eleanor was the ringleader of a popular gossip circle. She knew everyone's secrets. Her TikTok page was filled with commentary on celebrity drama. Then, one day, her English teacher assigned Plato's Republic. Reluctantly, Eleanor started reading. And something shifted. She realized she had been spending her mind on scraps, on fleeting, shallow chatter. So she stopped. She started journaling, reading philosophy, staying quiet in class, until she finally raised her hand one day and asked, "What makes a society just?" It was the beginning of a new life. Within a year, she had started a discussion group on ethics and culture, lost a few friends, gained better ones, and discovered that ideas last longer than gossip ever could. What you think about, you become. We become what we dwell on. Focus on people's flaws, and your mind sharpens for judgment. Focus on ideas, and your mind sharpens for creation. Ideas stretch you. They humble you. They invite you to contribute, not just consume. And in a world of cheap talk, that makes you rare. Practical idea-centered living. Shift conversations. When gossip arises, gently redirect. What do you think about that policy, that book, that challenge instead? Follow thinkers, not entertainers. Curate your media feed. Fill it with people who teach, not just perform. Keep an idea notebook. Whenever you learn something new, write it down. Revisit it. Build on it. Final thought. Small minds stay stuck in drama. Great minds ask, what's possible? Choose better mental nutrition. Because in the end, the quality of your mind becomes the quality of your life. Socrates never wrote a single book. He left no empire, no invention, no monument in stone. And yet, thousands of years later, we still speak his name. Why? Because he taught us the greatest revolution doesn't begin with nations. It begins within. To examine yourself. To think independently. To move yourself before you try to move others. And to speak of ideas, instead of people. That's the soul of true grit, not perfection, but the courage to live awake. Call to action, why Nia? If these ideas stirred something in you. Don't just like this video, live it. Scroll, share it with someone who's searching. Brain and subscribe to True Grit Mind, where we bring ancient wisdom to modern life, one deep breath at a time. Until next time. Think deeply. Live simply. Stand strong. And never stop examining what it means to live a good life.